Alright everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's Matty here from Chill TCG. So today we're going to be taking a look at a new and improved version of Turbo Zacian. This was a deck list that a lot of people were playing months and months ago. I think before rotation happened, they were running it with the Mr. Mime and the Jirachi Prism Star, I believe it was, to make sure that they draw extra prize cards. Kind of an alternative to sort of the gameplay aspect of, ADP Zacian. The whole idea of taking multiple prize cards, setting up Zacians quick and KOing things on the bench for 3 prizes, things like Dedenne and Crobat. That deck list was really good at the time. It did see some success. Of course, since rotation happened, people have really just been playing Luke Metal Zacian or ADP Zacian. They haven't really been playing straight Zacian. However, now we have one new card in particular that really kind of turns this this straight Turbo Zacian archetype into a pretty playable deck these days. So this is the deck list, and the one card that I am talking about is, of course, Rusted Sword, which came out in Shining Fates. One of the newer cards that came out. It is a tool card. You attach this to Zacian, and it does 30 more damage when it attacks. So it's pretty much just an attachable Altered Creation damage boost. Before this, you were just probably just running things like Vitality Band, which did only 10 more damage, which wasn't as much of a drastic increase. Now with 30 plus damage, we can really get to numbers that are in one-shot range of almost anything right now in the format. This deck list is actually very impressive. It's very good, and honestly, it's my favorite way to play Zacian right now. Luke Metal is still very good. ADP is still very good. People are incorporating Rusted Sword in both of those other decks, but to me right now, Zacian can kind of just be its own deck, and it can really be super successful. Of course, the whole idea of this deck list is to go extremely fast. It's Turbo Zacian after all. It's really about fast pace, aggressive gameplay while just setting up your Zacians as quickly as possible, getting your damage modification out as quickly as possible, and just hitting anything that can give you 2 or 3 prizes, preferably just one-shotting them. So we're going to get right into the deck list. First of all, we're going to talk about the Pokemon, and of course, we are running 4 Zacian Vs. Zacian V, of course, just probably the best basic 2-prize attacker right now in the game. I would say so. We have Brave Blade there, 230 damage for 3 metal. You can't attack during your next turn. However, you can just switch out and switch in 1 turn and just use that attack again. 220 HP, also very, very good. But the ability is just what makes Zacian V like top tier. And people run Zacian even without using it to attack, just for the ability. Intrepid Sword. Once during your turn, you may look at the top 3 cards of your deck, attach any number of metal energy cards that you find there to this Pokemon. And then put the other cards into your hand, and then when you use this ability, your turn ends. Honestly, one of the best ways to end your turn going first, or even going second, whatever on your first turn, just having the ability to Intrepid Sword, and sometimes just putting 3 energies on Zacian after that is just absolutely ridiculous. We run 4 of those. We are running 1 Zamazenta V. Now, you might be wondering, this is Turbo Zacian. How come we are running just like 1 Zamazenta? Does it really help us that much? To be fair, it really does help a lot of matchups, or rather a few matchups dramatically. Things like Eternatus, a lot of times, yes, they are running boss, but they don't really have anything in their deck to really handle Zamazenta. They can't really attack with Eternatus V, or else, they can, but it's just not a really good option. They are probably running things like Spiritomb, Yveltal, maybe Hoopa, but for the most part, you're just one-shotting all of those single prize attackers, and Eternatus VMAX can't hit you. I definitely can buy you some time at least to set up those Zacians and get ready for a knockout for multiple prizes. So I think Zamazenta is really good. Of course, it's immune to VMAX Pokemon, but you do have this attack, Assault Tackle 130 for 2 metal and a colorless, but you discard a special energy from your opponent's Pokemon. This is very much less of an attacking card and more of a bulky card, kind of a tanky card with the immunity here to VMAXs. I think just 1 in the deck really puts the deck over the top in terms of its survivability, because it doesn't really have too much going for it in terms of lasting a long time. Of course, we are trying to outpace our opponents and just sort of KO them quicker than they can handle, but sometimes that doesn't always work, and Zamazenta is really going to help out with that. And it's also really good when you're playing against things that are based around single prize archetypes, like a Mad Party, or perhaps like a Decidueye. You can just put this thing out here, and they're really like never KOing this thing, and we can just go ahead and slap into them. Well, Decidueye is immune to our attacks, but anyway, we're living for a long time. If you're playing against Decidueye, though, we do have some other options, and that's going to lead us into our Galarian Meowth and Galarian Perrserker lineup. Galarian Meowth, actually, we'll cover it too. Nothing too crazy about Galarian Meowth, except its ability is actually extremely good. So, Evolution Roar, you must discard 2 cards from your hand in order to use this ability. Once during your turn, you may search your deck for a Galarian Perrserker, reveal it, and put it into your hand. So it pretty much has the ability to search out its evolved form, which is Galarian Perrserker. Galarian Perrserker is amazing. Just because of Steely Spirit here, it just means that, or it says that if this is like in play, if this is on your bench, all of your metal Pokemon do 20 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. This is crazy. This is actually crazy. We can get 1 or 2 of these down on our bench, and our Zacians are hitting for 20 or 40 more damage, which already puts us up to 250 or 270 on a Zacian V, which is wild. On top of Rusted Sword, that puts us up to 280 or 300 even. Just between Rusted Sword and getting those Perrserkers out. And we are, of course, running something else in here to boost the damage again, but we'll get to that later. So Galarian Perrserker, very, very good. Sometimes you don't need to. Sometimes, like if you're playing against like something like Pikarom or like Reshi or something of the sort that's based around tag teams, Eggrow, whatever it might be, you might not only need 1 Galarian Perrserker on the board, but having 2 is good for consistency reasons, and also sometimes maybe we do need 2 on the board to KO something like a VMAX Pokemon. Maybe like a, I think 320 is the number, so something like Centiskorch or, what would it be, I guess? Something like Centiskorch or Dragapult, maybe, perhaps, or maybe some of the new VMAXs. You never know, but having 2 is definitely very good in the deck, because sometimes you prize one, right? And then we have a little bit of support Pokemon here. We do have 2 Dedennes. This is a very fast-paced deck, so being able to really rip through your cards and just research and Dedenne all in one turn, and then maybe even Crobat. It's very advantageous to be able to dig through your deck, consistently and dramatically. So 2 Dedenne, very good. We are running an Eldegoss V to get our supporters pack from the discard pile, because some of these are very, very important to us. And then we have 1 Crobat V, just because being able to Dedenne and Crobat in one turn is just too good not to have it. And we do have 1 Oranguru. Oranguru is actually extremely good in this deck for 2 reasons in particular. One, it just goes really well with Zacian V's ability. So let's say that we attached an energy to our Zacian this turn, and we want to make sure that we can Intrepid Sword and get at least 1 other energy on this, right, by using the ability. We can Oranguru and put a metal energy from our hand on the top of our deck, and then Intrepid Sword and just put it directly onto Zacian. So that's pretty much 2 attachments in 1 turn. It's also really good because, of course, this deck is very fast-paced, so we're discarding a lot of cards throughout the game with Research and Dedenne. We're just, ditching our hand and drawing more cards. Sometimes you want to save 1 or 2 of those cards in your hand, right? Oranguru helps us with that because, of course, we put it from our hand on the top of our deck, and then we get to discard our hand, right? So it's good for saving cards. It's also good for, going with this Intrepid Sword ability on Zacian. So Oranguru is very, very good. It's not necessarily needed. It's kind of like a consistency card in the deck, but it actually works very well, I think, for sort of how this deck plays. Okay, so moving on to item cards. Yeah, let's move on to item cards. Of course, we are running... I'm not going to go in any order, I suppose. We are running 4 Quick Balls. We can search pretty much all our Pokemon with this. Of course, we don't really need a way to search out Perrserker because we have Meowth's ability. And everything else is a basic Pokemon. And then, of course, this is a very fast-paced deck, so you're most likely just drawing into your Pokemon anyway. But Quick Ball, obviously really good to discard those metal energies to use Saucer or Turbo Patch. Yeah, it's just, you can argue that you might want more Pokemon search in this deck, but I think 4 Quick Balls is more than enough. We're going to draw into our Pokemon for the most part. And then, of course, we are running 4 Metal Saucers. You get to put a metal energy from our discard pile to one of our bench metal Pokemon. Extremely good. This is a fast-paced deck. We love discarding metal energies. We have a lot of them, but we also are running Metal Saucer and Turbo Patch, so it's just really good to, go along with this fast-paced nature of the deck, and can honestly allow you to set up a Zacian in one turn, which is really ridiculous. This is kind of where the Turbo idea comes from, having Metal Saucers and Turbo Patch, as well as the damage modification. And then, of course, yeah, so for Turbo Patch, it's similar to Metal Saucer. Excuse me. But it actually works for any kind of energy, and you can actually attach it to the active Pokemon as well, as long as it's not a GX, except you have to flip a coin for it. So overall, it's less consistent as Metal Saucer, but it's just sort of the extra capability, right? It just makes the deck more consistent when it comes to, getting those energies from our discard pile onto our Pokemon. So we have a total of 8 different options, or 8 different sort of chances to do that throughout the game. And really gives this deck a little bit more of a fast-paced nature. I think Turbo Patch can be argued whether it's playable, really, or if it's that good in the deck. But for me, it kind of makes the deck. Yeah, you are flipping coins, but, in my eyes, I think that this card is better than Hammers or something like that. And I think it's appropriate for a deck list like this. And sometimes it comes in clutch. Sometimes it fails you completely. But you know what? Turbo Patch It's in the name. It's in Turbo Zacian, so we had to run Turbo Patch. And then, of course, we have 4 switch cards. Zacian, you really want to switch in and out. There's just a lot of opportunities with Zacian where switching is extremely important. So, of course, we are running 4 switch. It just makes sense. You should be running 4 switch in any Zacian deck that you play. And then we have 1 Great Catcher. We run 1 Great Catcher just because we only are running 3 boss in this deck. And Great Catcher, of course, you have to discard 2 cards from your hand, but you get to just sort of gust up a GX Pokemon. And this could include tag teams in this deck. And typically, you would run this to gust up like a Dedenne or like an Oranguru or a Mawile or something. But now we can one-hit KO tag team Pokemon pretty easily. So Great Catcher, very good in the deck for gusting up those tag teams as well. This deck isn't super focused around gusting as much as ADP is, because, again, we really are oftentimes able to one-shot whatever's in that active spot, unless it's like an E-turn or a Colossal or something. So boss is a little less important. It's still kind of important. We are running 3 and 1 Great Catcher, so gusting is definitely a factor in the deck. But you know what? We're just going to run 3 boss and 1 Great Catcher. I think that's an appropriate lineup. We're running 1 Swell just because we had a spot in the deck, and those Welder decks can be pretty pesky, so we like to go fast pace if we can limit the pace of Welder decks, which is honestly a pretty fast paced deck as well. It's just going to benefit us, and there's no real other stadium card that would benefit us. I guess Viridians could be kind of good, but Viridians would be good actually, but I think Chaotic Swell is just overall a better option right now in the meta. We got 3 boss, and okay, so now we'll move on to the other supporters. We have 2 Marnies. Okay, we have 2 Marnies, and we have 4 Research. Now, Research is, of course, the most useful card in the deck. It's probably the most important one. Being able to discard those metal energies and grab 7 new cards is extremely good. It kind of really feeds into the fast-paced nature of the deck. But 2 Marnies, we cannot run more than 4 Research, so that's kind of the reason why we run 2 Marnies, just overall for consistency, and gives this deck a little bit more options when it comes to draw support. We do have Crobat, Dedenne, Research, but why not run a couple Marnies as well? Of course, it does also help with the Welder deck matchups as well, so Marnie. And then we are running Leon, so this is our last form of damage modification. We're running a lot in this deck. So like I said, you have the Galarian Perrserkers, which adds damage. You have Rusted Sword, which adds damage. Now we have Leon, which adds even more damage. So realistically, you can have 2 Perrserkers down on the bench. That's 40 plus 230 on Zacian. That's 270. We attach Rusted Sword. You know how much that is? That's 300. And then if we can find Leon, which is actually pretty easy with Eldegoss, that puts us up to 330 HP, which is KOing almost everything right now in the game. I'm excluding maybe Eternatus VMAX, which a lot of people are actually running hammers on anyway. So, and we have Zamazenta for that matchup. So realistically, we have the capability of one-shotting pretty much everything right now in the game. Colossal has 330, but it does have those stone energies, so sometimes we might not be able to KO Colossal. However, we have Zamazenta for that matchup as well. But yeah, I mean, the capability of hitting 330 HP. We have 2 Leons in the deck. It's actually pretty easy to draw into one with, like, you can Dedenne for it, or you can discard it early game, grab it with Eldegoss late game, and find it at the right time. Plenty of different ways to find that Leon when you need it, and it really kind of puts the cap on the deck. Maybe you're missing out on a Perrserker, or you're missing Rusted Sword. Leon is just another option to sort of get that threshold of damage off to one-hit KO something. And a lot of times tag teams, you don't need all of those modifications out on the board to KO them, but it's nice to have multiple options, so that's why we're running 2 Leon in the deck. Again, this card is just ridiculous. We're able to literally add on 100 extra damage to this Pokemon, which is already doing 230. Absolutely crazy. We are running 2 Air Balloon. It's a Zacian deck, so of course Air Balloon is good. It's always good to be able to attach Air Balloon to like a Perrserker in the active spot. Its retreat cost is 2, and we can put it on any Dedennes, Crobat, or Oranguru, just to kind of have the ability to play switch and then retreat into Zacian again. Or we can put it on Zamazenta or another Zacian, right? Plenty of different opportunities here. Air Balloon, it's just so good in Zacian decks, and I think running a 2-2 lineup between Air Balloon and Rusted Sword is the correct decision, in my opinion. And then we are all running just 12 basic energies. You might be wondering, why aren't we running coding energies? That's just because this deck is so fast-paced. We're just trying to KO anything that's on our opponent's board. It doesn't really matter too much for the most part, right? We're so fast-paced. We're so focused on hitting for large amounts of damage. A lot of times survivability and kind of playing the long game isn't really necessary with this deck. So that's why we're not playing coding energies. We will be getting one-shotted a lot of times, like mostly by Welder decks, right? But you know what? Coding Energy, it doesn't really matter too much in the long run, and we're just going to try to hit them and KO them before they do that to us anyway. So no Coding Energies, 12 metals. Basic Energies are also just better in general because we're trying to Intrepid Sword and get that fabled 3 energy Intrepid Sword onto our Zacians. So yeah, no special energies, just 12 basics in the deck, which I think is a good number as well. So this is the deck list. It's actually super fun. Sometimes it just doesn't work out for you. It's one of these decks where if you do not get that hot start, you can struggle. But if you do get that hot start, your opponent is going to be very terrified. So, you know what? I'm very excited. So we're going to get into some gameplay. I know the last video I made of Crobat VMAX, I didn't play super good. But again, you know, you don't come here to watch a super high level gameplay. You just come here to have a good time and enjoy some new and some cool deck lists. So hopefully you guys enjoy. We're going to move in and try to get a good game here for you guys to watch. So let's go right into it. All right. Let's get into it. Let's figure out how we can somehow play a game out without our opponent absolutely just conceding in the first few turns after we get a good start. That always just seems to happen with this deck. If you get that Zacian with 3 energies out turn 1, people are just not going to stay in. They're just going to bounce because they know what's about to come. Our hand isn't terrible. Having 2 switch with Research and Great Catcher is not super ideal, but we do have 2 Zacians and an energy, so you know it definitely could be worse. Let's see what we're up against here. First, Crobat, so it could be, technically, it could be E-turn or something like that. Is Rusted Sword good in this matchup? Well, we don't know necessarily what this deck is yet, right? So we're just going to attach Rusted Sword. We'll attach Energy here, and we're just going to go ahead and Intrepid. We do find an Energy, which is good, and an Air Balloon. So we can attach that to the active one. Depending on what we top deck, maybe we can just KO this Crobat next turn. We'll see. This is probably Eternatus VMAX, which is a little bit upsetting because we're only hitting for 330 at the most in this deck. Yeah, Quick Balls away Dark Energy. This could be Crobat VMAX, honestly. No, it's E-turn. Okay, this isn't bad. It's not terrible, depending on what we top deck. Because we could KO this thing next turn. Like, we have Boss in hand. He's running Turbo Patch E-turn. That scared me. He's running Turbo E-turn. Turbo Eternatus versus Turbo Zacian. Okay, so that Metal Saucer doesn't really help us at all. I think, unfortunately, we're just going to have to try and KO the active, which means that we are going to be researching this hand away, which is not great. He has a 3-card hand, so maybe he doesn't have too much. That is one possibility. We're just going to attach here. We can Quick Ball away Metal here, I think. And now I think we can grab Zam. I think Zam, this is kind of where Zam is useful to us. Honestly. And if we do some math here, Zam's doing 130, plus maybe both Perrserkers, that's 170. Plus a Leon, that's 200. I don't think it's really worth building up damage for this deck. I think we're just going to go straight Zacian here. So we can go like this. And, do we draw 4 more cards? Like, we could grab Dedenne here. You know what? I'm just going to do it. It's Turbo Zacian. We're going to play aggressive. We are just going to go ahead and Dedenne away this hand. Perhaps we can get some energies on board this turn. We have Turbo here, and we do have a Saucer, which is nice. So we're just going to go ahead, go into this Zacian. I guess we can play Perrserker anyway. Is it smart to play down Perrserker? I think it is, like, because why not, right? Let's set up this guy here. We're rolling. Here we go. Okay, interesting. We're going to just KO here. I think we just want to rock out and get a knockout. No pun intended. And let's see here. You know, we don't know what's in his hand, right? He might not be able to set up into an E-turn VMAX next turn. There's a Perrserker. Because he's got to KO me 3 times, and I already have a KO here, right? So if he does play Crobat, which I think he might, you know, we should be able to just boss for game, right? I think that's totally fair to assume. He's going to Marnie us, so not super ideal for us, I suppose. We could just 2-hit KO this E-turn. He might have craziness in hand right now, though. And I don't like the idea of that. He puts down 1 Hoopa, attaches energy. He's just going to Dread End here for 60, so I don't mind that at all. Leon's actually not helping us in this matchup either. I'm going to attach the Zacian. And I'm going to leave a bench spot open because I don't think the damage mod actually matters in the long run. So I'm just going to Evolution Roar away these 2. We will get a Perrserker out just because it's on the board, so we might as well grab our Perrserker. We'll do this. And now we have a nice research in hand. Okay. Okay. We do have a switch, which is really good. And I don't really think it matters which Zacian we hit, so I think that we hit with this one right now, honestly. And I think that we can just set up the Zamazenta too. Okay. Well, there we go. That's, that was that game. Okay, what are we playing here? We're playing ya boy Hazzy. Ya boy Hazzy. Let's see if he doesn't concede to us. We've had our opponent concede to us 5 times already. And I just want someone to play through the match so we can get some gameplay. It's hard, man. When you get that hot start with Zacian, people just want to scoop team, and they just want it to be over before it begins. Okay, so we are most definitely going to just keep Zacian the active. We're going to hold Crobat. Looks like we're playing another Turbo Zacian, so this is actually hilarious. And he's going to mulligan. I think I mulligan too, so we're going to just both draw some extra cards. Could be actually terrifying. He's playing Skyla in his list. I actually kind of like that. I like Skyla. Could be a thought. Could be, maybe you run Skyla in this list. Who knows? I don't know if he's running Leon. Not that it actually matters in the long run, I guess. Okay. He starts with Perrserker. He's going to attach Rusted Sword. I don't think that's actually needed at all in the matchup, because we're just KOing each other. But he doesn't know if I'm running ADP, right? So I guess that's smart. He's going to Dedenne away his hand. He gets rid of Skyla, Marnie, and a switch, I think. So let's see if he even... okay, so we're going to Air Balloon the Dedenne. Leave this active. Let's see how many Intrepids he gets here. Let's see if he gets something spicy. He doesn't get any off the Intrepid. That's actually very good for us. Okay. We're going to Swell here. Well, Air Balloon here. Quick Ball, away Energy. We are going to grab our own Zacian. We prized our other full art, so we'll grab the gold one. Not too shabby. I think we're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. I guess we can just attach this so we can draw an extra card. Maybe that wasn't the right play. Maybe just double Air Balloon was the correct play. Interesting. I think that you know what I think we do here? I think I'm gonna catcher away this and this. We're gonna pull that Dedenne up in the active spot. I think taking 2 prizes right now is just way too good for us. If we had an energy in hand, that would have been ideal because we don't have any in the discard, so we're gonna have to try to discard one this turn. Okay. Interesting. Getting rid of our switch cards isn't good, but you know what? I think getting a KO right here is best case scenario. This is Turbo, by the way, so we got to do it. There we go. We do find it, so we're gonna go ahead and do this. I think we can play a third Zacian as well. I think why not? We're gonna retreat, and we're just gonna go ahead and Brave Blade. So you can see just sort of how fast-paced this deck can be. Is it good? Is it the right play to play this fast-paced with this deck? You know what? I kind of think it is. Especially in this matchup, it's just really going to come down to who gets KOs first. I mean, again, he might not even be able to set up his Zacian this turn for a KO. If he does, you know what? That's fine. We do have 2 more Saucers in deck. We have some more Turbo Patches we can attach. So we might be able to get the goods this turn. He's going to evolve into Perrserker. That makes sense since he just had it in the active anyway. That's what he started with. He's going to go ahead and research away his whole hand, which doesn't have any energies in it. Wow, so he doesn't have any energies in his discard pile still. He's playing Hammers in his list. We don't actually mind Hammers too much, in all seriousness. He's going to attach one in Intrepid Sword. Wow. That's actually pretty good for us. It's definitely pretty good for us. Okay, so we have a Leon. Man, none of these cards are very good, huh, for us in general. First of all, I think what we do is we're going to switch. We're going to switch into this. I think now we can Turbo Patch. Of course, we hit heads because we are absolutely sacks. We're just sacking super hard. We're going to Marnie him. This is kind of why Marnie's good, because sometimes like you would prefer to Marnie than research. Let's see what we get off Marnie. We get a boss. You know, it's not like incredibly ideal, to be completely honest with you. We're just going to attach to... we can attach to this dude. Do we think he has boss in hand? He's down 1 boss. I'm just debating whether Intrepid Sorting here is better than than actually KOing with Zacian, right? Because we want to KO his Zacian next turn. So I think what we actually do, in all seriousness, is we're going to retreat. Actually, no, there's no reason to retreat, huh? So we're just going to Intrepid. If he KOs us, that's totally fine. How many energies on our discard? Just 1. 4 on board, 1 in hand. I think we Intrepid active, to be completely honest with you. And we just hope he KOs us so that we can KO him next turn because we have this one set up. And if he bosses us, then we have this guy set up, right? So, absolutely ridiculous. There's the fabled 3 energy off the Intrepid Sword. Personally, this is a good play. It does tell him that we probably have boss in hand. But you know what? I think that it was the best play either way. I think it was the best play either way. He's going to put down a second Zacian. He's going to hit us with hammers. Again, I don't really care. We're Turbo Zacian here. He's going to knock it off the active, which is interesting. Will he even go for an attack here? And he has Spinner in his hand. Wow. So we're definitely getting a little bit better draws, I think, than this guy, which is good. And yeah, okay, so that's just going to be the game. Wow. Okay. All right, everybody, thank you for watching. This has been Turbo Zacian. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I apologize for the gameplay, all the matches that we played. Our opponents just kept scooping to us because our deck list is just that ridiculously busted. Turbo Zacian, it's just too powerful. People do not want to go up against this deck. So if you play this on the ladder, you might have similar results. Either way, yeah, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe if you want to be notified for future videos. Click the join button if you want to support the community. It's just $1.99 a month. Big shout out to our channel members. They're the reason that everything is possible. They're our main contributors here on the channel, so big shout out to them. And of course, shout out to Card Cavern Trading Cards for being our sponsor. Use the code Chill TCG for 5% off your entire order. Yeah, for sure. Deck list will be down in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll be back tomorrow.